Part 1. The first move she makes is silence, and that's how she wins. She will never strike you with fists. Not when words will do, not when silence cuts deeper. She won't scream, she won't curse, she won't raise her voice, because she doesn't need to. Instead, she'll smile while she delays. She'll softly disagree, then change her mind without warning. And when you question her, she'll act like nothing happened at all. But don't be fooled. Every hesitation, every contradiction is a test you didn't know you were taking. If you fail, there won't be blood, only surrender. You'll feel it the moment you explain yourself too much, the moment you rearrange your day to suit her whims, the moment you silence your instinct just to keep her happy. In that instant, you don't just lose her respect, you lose yourself. Because the truth is harsh. Once a man yields his time, his frame, and his reason in the pursuit of a woman's favor, he loses his throne before he ever had it. And while you're busy chasing her love, she's busy calculating your weakness. Because if she can move you, she will never respect you. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you let yourself be tested? Part 2. The unseen war. How she tests you without saying a word. Let me tell you a truth that most men live their entire lives ignoring. You are always being tested, not in obvious ways, not with ultimatums or threats, but in the quiet, in the subtle shifts of her tone, in the moments she disagrees just to see how you'll respond. And most men, they don't just fail the test, they don't even know they're taking it. She's watching the clock when she's late. She's watching your eyes when she mentions her ex. She's watching your posture when she rejects your idea with a smirk. Every reaction you give is an answer to a question she never asked aloud. Can I move him? If she senses she can, then she will, over and over, until you're no longer the man you were when she met you. Here's what Machiavelli knew, and what every man needs to understand. Power is not given, it is observed, it is tested, and then it is either respected or replaced. A woman may love a man she can manipulate, but she can never respect him. And without respect, love curdles into something ugly: control. She doesn't do this because she's cruel. She does it because life taught her that a man who cannot stand still in the face of pressure is a man who cannot protect, cannot lead, cannot provide stability. So when you bend, she withdraws, not because she wanted to, but because her nature demanded it. This is why the man who believes kindness, flexibility, and compromise are the path to love ends up confused when she grows cold. You thought you were being good, but she saw weakness. Machiavelli wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, when one of the two must be lacking." Now, don't misunderstand. This isn't about being cruel. This is about presence, about gravity, about the ability to say, "No, this is my line," and then holding that line, no matter how many storms she sends. Because every act of disobedience, every slight, every cold shoulder is a referendum on your strength. And she's not the only one watching. Your friends see it, your family feels it, but more importantly, you feel it. Every time you fold, a piece of you goes missing. You might call it love or grace or patience, but deep down, you know it's surrender. The man who cannot test a woman is like a king who never patrols his borders. He thinks peace reigns until the gates are in flames, and he wonders how it happened. It happened because you mistook her smile for peace. But peace without strength is an illusion. And as Machiavelli warned, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Women, more than anyone, have mastered the art of appearing sweet while probing for weakness. She may laugh at your jokes. She may call you her king, but then she tests. She cancels plans. She pulls away. She criticizes what you stand for, just to see if you'll defend it. She doesn't need to ask, "Can I control you?" She just tries. And the moment you flinch, she knows. You are not the ruler. You are the ruled. You were trained to trust, taught that goodness is enough, that love is earned by showing up, being kind, staying patient. But Machiavelli would laugh at that. In any arena of power, only a fool leads with goodness. A man who wishes to act entirely up to his professions of virtue soon meets with what destroys him among so much that is evil. You weren't born into peace. You were born into evaluation. Every woman, whether she admits it or not, is evaluating if you are the man who can remain unmoved. If she cries, do you fold? If she disappears, do you chase? If she disrespects, do you explain yourself? These are her tripwires, invisible but everywhere. And every time you negotiate with your own standards just to keep her calm, you pay for it in respect. And when respect dies, love soon follows. She may stay, but colder, less affectionate, less present. You'll just feel her distance growing, like the heat slowly leaving a dying fire. And when you ask her why, she won't know how to answer, because it wasn't a conscious choice. She simply can't unsee your weakness. Machiavelli advised rulers to simulate virtue, but to be ready to change if necessity commands it. You can be kind, you can be merciful, but only when you choose, not when she demands it. Because here's the truth no one told you. Softness is celebrated, but never rewarded. Vulnerability is praised, but rarely respected. If you want to know who she really is, don't ask, test, say no, withhold attention, stand your ground when she pushes, and then watch, because what collapses under pressure was never real to begin with. Part 3. The silent test, how to unmask her without saying a word. A woman will never say, "Test me." She doesn't have to. She sets the stage and waits for you to forget the script, because that's when your real nature appears. But here's the problem. You don't have a script either. You were never taught to test her. You were taught to trust her. You were taught to love hard, prove yourself, show her you're different, better, kinder. But ask yourself, has it ever worked? Machiavelli knew better. He wrote not for men who wanted to be liked, but for men who wanted to rule. And his warning was brutal. A man who is not himself shrewd cannot be well counseled. In other words, if you lack cunning, if you don't test, you'll be led like a lamb to the slaughter, without even knowing who holds the knife. You think she'll tell you what she respects? She won't, but she will show you when you say no. Tell her no without apology, without justification, without raising your voice. Then wait. Not with hope, not with fear, but with detachment. Because her first reaction is not her truth, it's her strategy. She may get sweeter, she may become more affectionate, more agreeable, more pleasing. But understand, behind the softness is calculation. She's testing whether this new strength is real or just a phase. Because the moment you set a boundary, you've declared war. Not on her, but on the version of her that was winning. She now faces a decision, evolve or escalate. If she escalates with guilt, coldness, withdrawal, or drama, good, that's her real nature surfacing. And here is where most men collapse. You test her, she pushes back, she goes cold, and you retreat. You think the discomfort is a signal to compromise. But Machiavelli warned, injuries must be inflicted all at once, so that their ill savor may be less. Meaning, if you're going to assert control, do it completely, immediately, without hesitation, without blinking. Don't test 1 week and fold the next. Because inconsistency invites chaos, and chaos is her native language. A woman will always resist boundaries at first. That's not the problem. Her resistance is expected. What matters is her reaction to your consistency. Anyone can fake grace for a day or two. But what about the third time you tell her no? What about the fifth time you remain silent instead of entertaining her drama? Does she adapt? Does she grow? Or does she escalate? Most will escalate. Some will flee. A few, rare, valuable few, will adjust. And those are the ones you observe carefully. Not because you trust them fully, but because their pattern reveals more than their words ever will. This is the Machiavellian way. You don't reinvent the test, you refine it. You don't announce your standards, you enforce them, quietly, consistently, ruthlessly. You don't make exceptions for beauty, for sex, for loneliness. Because the test is not just for her, it's for you. Can you live without her affection long enough to see her mask fall? Can you sit with discomfort, with distance, with cold nights, just to see who she really is? Most men can't. They say they want a queen, but they kneel to any woman who offers attention. They claim to seek respect, but crumble at the first sign of disapproval. But Machiavelli understood men better than they understood themselves. Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. If your relationship is driven by your fear of losing her, you're not in love. You're in submission. And no man can lead a woman he fears upsetting. You cannot protect a woman you depend on for purpose. You cannot test a woman whose reaction controls your sanity. So start small, cancel a plan, say no, withhold attention, remain silent when she's fishing for reassurance. And then watch, not with anxiety, but with curiosity. You're not punishing her, you're studying her. Because if you let every red flag pass, she'll plant more. But the moment you withdraw comfort, the moment you say no without drama, she has no script left, her performance ends, and her essence begins. Will she adapt, or will she accuse you? Will she add value, or remind you what you owe her? Her reaction is your report card. Machiavelli wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." It's not your role that earns respect. It's how you uphold it when pressure comes. Most men fold the moment discomfort appears. They confuse her tears with truth. They confuse chaos with passion. They confuse manipulation with love. But Machiavelli would remind them, the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. She promised to love you when you look like a man, but when you surrendered to her moods, her whims, her manipulations, she broke her word, and she was right to. Because you broke the illusion of strength, and the man who breaks that illusion, he never gets it back. Part 4, the final test. If she can move you, she will destroy you. This is the bitter truth no one warns men about. She doesn't have to leave you to ruin you. She'll stay, but colder, less affectionate, less engaged. She'll stay just long enough for you to become a shadow of the man you were. Because the man who fails her test becomes her puppet, and she has no respect for the puppet she controls. Still, most men stay. They double down on pleasing, apologizing, compensating, because they think she's going through something. But she's not. She's reacting to the truth. She saw your soft core, and she can't unsee it. And here's where most men seal their fate. They try to fix it. They try to win her back. They become her therapist, her emotional caretaker, her comfort blanket. But a Machiavellian man knows better. He doesn't redeem dysfunction. He filters it, quietly, coldly, without negotiation. Because the woman who disrespects your boundaries doesn't need more love, she needs a mirror. And that mirror is your stillness, your unshaken core. The moment you stop explaining, justifying, or negotiating, her mask falls. She'll have no script when you go silent, no weapon when you stop reacting. And that's when the truth arrives. Will she adapt, or will she escalate? If she escalates, with drama, with guilt trips, with coldness, do not move. Because here's where most men lose everything. They test once, get backlash, and retreat. They think her discomfort is a sign to compromise, but compromise here is surrender. Machiavelli warned, injuries must be inflicted all at once so that their ill savor may be less. If you're going to reclaim your frame, do it fully, immediately, without blinking. Because if you hesitate, if you test then fold, you confirm her suspicion. Your strength was fake, a phase, a trick. Inconsistency is chaos, and chaos is where she rules. You want to know if she's real? Watch how she behaves after the third time you say no. Not the first, not the second, but the third. The real woman emerges after the mask cracks. Will she grow? Will she offer value? Will she bring peace, stability, and respect? Or will she remind you of what you owe her? That's your report card, because any woman can act sweet when you're accommodating, but only a worthy woman holds her shape when she doesn't get her way. That's the rare woman, and you won't find her by guessing, only by testing. Machiavelli said, "A wise man ought always to follow the paths beaten by great men, and to imitate those who have been supreme." You don't reinvent strength, you uphold it. You don't announce standards, you enforce them. You don't make exceptions for beauty, charm, or loneliness, because the test isn't just for her, it's for you. Can you go without her affection long enough to see her truth? Can you endure the cold nights, the silent treatment, the distance, without folding just to feel her warmth again? Most men can't. They say they want a queen but kneel to any woman who offers attention. They say they want respect but trade their spine for comfort. Machiavelli would remind you, men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. If your love for her is really just fear of losing her, you're not in love, you're enslaved. You can't lead a woman you're scared to lose. You can't protect a woman whose opinion controls your sanity. So, begin small. Withdraw your attention, cancel the plan, say no, refuse to explain, and then watch. Not with anger, not with hope, but with detachment. Because she doesn't need more of your love. She needs a reflection of herself. If she adapts, good. If she escalates, better. Now you know. And that's the ultimate test. Not to punish her, but to uncover her. Because a woman who passes your test won't flatter you. She won't worship you. She'll stand beside you. Not because she fears you, but because she respects the man who cannot be moved. But to find her, you have to be willing to lose her. And that's where most men fail. They can't endure the silence. They can't sit with discomfort. They want peace, but they don't want the price of strength. But Machiavelli warned, the vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances. Techulator. And the world is full of men destroyed by what looked good, what felt good, what promised love but delivered submission. You don't pay the price for choosing the wrong woman. You pay the price for refusing to test her. Now the choice is yours. You can close this video and return to the fantasy, believing love is enough, effort is everything, and boundaries are cruel. Or you can start. You can test, because any woman who cannot survive your standards does not deserve your soul. And any man who refuses to test, he is already lost. If this truth shook you, if it made you uncomfortable, that's good. Share this message, subscribe, support the movement, because every time you share this, another man wakes up before it's too late. And maybe that's the most Machiavellian move of all, waking up the kingdom before the invaders come.